What's up, everybody, and welcome to Twisted Bard's E3 review shows. This one is for the Bethesda conference. We just watched that. We're going to run through what we thought of it, all of the different announcements and everything like that. My name is Paddy, and I'm here today with Rob.
Hello.
And Alistair.
Hello.
All right, let's just jump straight into it. So the show opened with some children talking about their parents
Please never
and
say
the
that
games
again.
and the games they were making. Some children. What do you think? Is it a stirring opening?
Not really. It seemed like the company had no ideas and were just like, fuck it, throw some children up on a video. We'll waste about another 5 minutes because we have nothing to show.
Yeah.
Well, that's a positive sign for the start. So then they move straight into VR, Bethesda VR. A couple of different games, but Doom playable in VR and Fallout 4 playable in VR. Some differences there. It looks like Doom is kind of more of a... I guess that game is way too quick to be like a VR game, so it looks like you kind of move by jumping around and shooting, whereas Fallout 4 is playable entirely in VR.
Yeah, I think we expected Doom VFR and Fallout 4 VR. It'd been semi-confirmed earlier, so it was no real surprise there. But yeah, like Fallout 4 looks pretty decent in VR. They seem to have worked out sort of a lot of kinks of like movement and everything, and it'll be interesting to see how the teleportation and movement system in Doom works, because I've played the original Doom. It's one of the few games that we've covered in E3 that I've played, and yeah, like it was fast paced. It relied on like quick movement, like jumping from place to place. So the teleportation system, I'm on the fence about, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm very much of the view that like a Doom VR, I'm very much yeah, okay, cool. But I think they're obviously having to cut back on one of the key parts of a Doom just to shoehorn in a VR. It doesn't really fit. Whereas like Fallout 4, yeah, like I can see that because obviously it's not really a run and gun. It's more slow paced. It's easier to handle. So yeah, for me. Not that I own any sort of a VR, but if I did, I'd probably would get a Fallout 4. But I would probably give Doom a miss.
Yeah, I think the Fallout 4 announcement's actually kind of bigger than it seems, because we've had Resident Evil 7. You can play that entirely in VR, but this is really the biggest game I think that you can play entirely in VR. And you think they really would have pushed that, but I guess they don't have their own VR system to push it. And it's unclear whether this is only on Vive or on everything else, because I'm pretty sure like the little VR unit they showed at the beginning of this bit was a Vive, and also they showed the little Vive controller when he was setting up like in Fallout 4 when he was like kind of building up a room or something.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting to find out more about that, and if that works, then maybe we will see developers actually making bigger experiences in VR. It's kind of a nice acid test for that.
Yeah, because it said Fallout 4 would be like the full game, entirely open world. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds up, and if it does, then it's literally just going to open the way for like something maybe like even Skyrim coming to VR in the near future. Or
I think
6.
they haven't really figured out any way of releasing Skyrim on absolutely everything yet, so we can definitely look out for that in the future. Next, it was some Elder Scrolls Online. We knew Morrowind was coming, and they had Morrowind, and a few YouTubers looking happy that Morrowind was coming.
I'm so surprised.
More showing YouTubers on in these E3 showcases. It's becoming it's becoming a thing.
Yeah, well, if the YouTubers agree with it, then the general public are like, I must agree with this.
Yeah.
I never played Morrowind, so it doesn't really mean anything to me, and I haven't tried Elder Scrolls Online, but I guess it's pretty exciting if you're a big Elder Scrolls fan. Anything to add to that?
I have nothing to add to that whatsoever.
I played Morrowind back in the day. I think it was my first Elder Scrolls game, and I did enjoy it, but I mean, the locations being brought to Elder Scrolls Online does nothing to me. I mean, I'm sure it's exciting, but yeah.
Yeah, and the next bit that they announced, I guess a pretty big and interesting thing, definitely the thing that you imagine they're going to get the most flack for, the Creation Club. So, Rob, I think you made an interesting point while we were watching it. Do you want to reiterate what you think?
Oh, right, just the fact that they're, from what I understand, are they just getting a community to build their DLC for them?
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like the community are working with actually with the developers themselves, and then you have to use credits to buy these mods, or I assume buy these mods. So yeah,
I mean, are they? I mean, obviously they weren't very clear on what those credits are. I mean, they might be earned sort of in game. Maybe like, you know how like Ubisoft has like the Uplay points that you earn through doing weird things inside a game. Perhaps it might be something more in line with that. But yeah, I'm very scared that's just getting your a community to build your a DLC for you, which is mental.
Yeah, from a financial point of view, it's very clever from Bethesda. Although everyone enjoys mods, so we're going to make a store of them. We're not going to ask you to pay money, but you're probably going to be paying money because you're not going to earn that many credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting one. We'll see how everybody reacts. And how that works and how people react to it. Then it's the Elder Scrolls card game, Elder Scrolls Legends. They showed a trailer about that. They showed some gameplay and also a new trailer for Heroes of Skyrim. I guess it's a expansion. I actually have no idea if that game is out, the Elder Scrolls Legend, if that exists already or if it's still in beta or whatever.
Yeah, it was a further bit of them going, we don't really have anything to show you, so here's a card game.
Yeah.
And look, Skyrim in another form. Who would have seen that coming? Yeah.
Yeah, and then speaking of Skyrim on other forms, they switched tack, and it's coming out on the Nintendo Switch. Skyrim again, more form. Skyrim, so much Skyrim.
Who would have seen that?
I think I'm going to draw the line here. Like, having played Skyrim on the PS3 excessively, on the PS4 excessively, I am drawing a line. I will not get sucked into it. I need to be cut off.
But are you sure you
don't? But it's got motion controls.
And
it's got motion controls.
And you can play as Link. Yeah. Like, well, Link's skin.
You can use the amiibos and like get the Master Sword and like shield.
Leave me alone, Bethesda.
Get the amiibos and Skyrim on the Switch. It's money. Come on.
I need help.
Get it.
Buy the credits, Paddy.
Give in.
Buy the credits.
Give in to your temptations. Do it.
So I guess Skyrim on Switch, cool. It's, if you never played it before, I guess that'd be a great way to play it. You can play it on the road. You can play it on when you're traveling.
I feel like the motion controls are going to get very annoying. It's like firing an arrow. Like, it seemed like you had to pull back one of the Joy-Cons and then like click something.
Hopefully it's just an option that you can turn off.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fidgety if you do.
And then they moved on to, what was the most exciting announcement for me? Dishonored 2 is getting some DLC called Death of the Outsider, coming September 15th. Really exciting. Love Dishonored, the first one and the second one. If you know the series and you know who the Outsider is, that's even more exciting because it's kind of really interesting to think of taking that person on. And obviously Dowd kind of coming back. Really exciting. I loved the gameplay in that. So clever.
Yeah, the Dishonored series is one of those games that's like on my list of games that I should have played, but I haven't. Unfortunately.
And one thing about Dishonored, like their DLC is always like, they're not just here's a new map, here's something slightly different. They're always like, this is going to be completely different. So it's basically like buying a new game, but just for Dishonored.
Yeah, it's like new characters, new powers, new skills. The first Dishonored DLC was great. So hopefully this is kind of the first in a few little bits.
I'll be really interested to see the story of how they deal with sort of fighting the outsider.
Yeah, really interesting. And then they moved on to something that we already knew about, Quake Champions, but they were kind of framing this from the esports perspective. They're pushing this as an esport before it's even out. And then at QuakeCon, there's going to be a I think Quake Championship, like World Championship, $1 million up for grabs. Very exciting, I suppose. Again, we're not very big onto the whole esports scene.
Yeah, I mean, a Quake. I used to really enjoy a Quake. I used to go around like a friend's house, and we all I used to play it and stuff. So yeah, it's really good to see it back. But just pretty much, like you said there, Paddy. I get really frustrated when they are trying to launch a game and trying to already sell it as an esport, because an esport is born from the fans, not from like the company to try to push it. And like the prize pools do help. They start to get people training for it, like and stuff. But like it needs to be the right sort of game, and you can't know that until after it's out.
It almost seems like reduce the amount of people who are willing to buy Quake. Because I mean, like if I saw Quake Championships, I mean, like I might be tempted to buy that. But how they've advertised it's like a pure esport, I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm not really into that sort of scene, so like I don't think it'll be a casual just sort of multiplayer.
Yeah.
So I'm really going to stay like a fair bit away from that.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to put the money first, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then kind of the game second. But esports is huge, so you think when they're putting those prize pools together and that money together, people are going to get excited and interested, and it will definitely find an audience. I don't know how broad that audience will be.
But yeah.
And then we had two actual new things, one of which we kind of had leaked, I think, almost like pretty much a year ago, and one was completely new, the first to that, and that was The Evil Within 2, coming Friday the 13th in October this year.
Yeah, cool. I mean, horror games, like, again, I feel like this whole conference I've been sort of left out because they've all been like, yeah, that's cool, but not really me. But yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it seemed really cool. It had a really, really, really cool trailer. But yeah, I don't really play horror games because like my heart like just can't like handle it.
Yeah, the trailer was awesome.
Yeah,
really, really stylistic. And I'm glad they ended the trailer with kind of some actual gameplay and running around, and because you didn't really get a sense of what you'd actually be doing, and I hadn't played the first one, so to see a little bit of what's going on at the end.
Initially, it did seem sort of like a Layers of Fear type style to it, like you walking around a house and creepy things happen, like you turn one way and then turn back and everything's different, kind of that sort of style. And then towards the end, it was more like a Resident Evil style of, you have a gun, you're shooting monsters coming towards you.
Yeah, it looked quite actiony at the end, didn't it?
I mean, I don't know whether they're going to switch between styles, or the trailer, like the beginning of the trailer was just a bit more cinematic, just to show you kind of like, it's creepy. But I'll be interested to see if they combine the two and make it like an intense sort of psychological horror and then an actiony horror.
Yeah, the first game was very well received. I don't know how well it sold, but it reviewed pretty well. So I guess pretty good to have that one back, something new, something different. Especially with Resident Evil 7 being pretty good as well. Kind of that looks like the genre's making a little bit of a resurgence, which is cool. And then they ended the show with Wolfenstein 2, the New Colossus, which is coming October 27th this year. Everything they showed from the show is going to be available this year. Haven't played the first one, intend to. I've got it on my console, but I just haven't actually started it yet. A bit all over the place, like the trailers they showed, but it looks like it has a great sense of personality, doesn't take itself too seriously, and you're going to be killing Nazis, so, that's always pretty exciting.
Yeah,
it was a bit cheeky, which was kind of remind me a little bit of what we saw yesterday with a Sea of Thieves, but yeah, it was just a bit cheeky, and yeah, quite like ones that are a bit cheeky, so
yeah, it's
well done.
Return of the good old Nazis. I don't think that phrase has ever been used in history before, but yeah, it seemed quite expansive as well. There was a lot of different, like, almost playable characters as well. So maybe there's multiple people you can play as during the story, but different areas you can go to. So it could be semi-open world, which could be interesting for a Wolfenstein game.
Yeah, that looked really cool. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Have to play the first one in preparation. Definitely going to do that. That kind of got me more excited to actually go and play the first one. I love the tone of it. And that was the end of it. That's kind of brought to the end, which I think we all kind of agree was a little bit of an anticlimax. I understand why they did this last year. They had a lot of stuff to talk about. Bethesda this year, I feel like they could have just stuck their stuff on, amongst the Microsoft and Sony conferences, and they didn't really need to bother with this. There really wasn't that much. Do you guys want to go and give a little final reaction and a score?
Yeah, I'll take the first one. I'm gonna give it a very underwhelming 4 out of 10. We expected 90% of what came out. I think The Evil Within 2 was the only real where did that come from? And so there was nothing really new, and they basically just banked on Fallout and Elder Scrolls franchises to kind of get them through this entire conference, and it just seemed like 40 minutes of time a bit wasted, where they could have told me in 15 minutes what was coming out. So yeah, I was a bit underwhelmed and a little bit disappointed in Bethesda this year.
Rob?
Yeah, I'm very much like on the exact same point as you guys. So I'm also going to score it a 4 out of 10. I think it was just poor a lot altogether, in the sense of there wasn't really much to get excited about. And Paddy, yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't see why they even bothered. They should have just scattered it in amongst a lot of other people, a lot of other conferences, or even just put it out on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
and
a bit like the directs that Nintendo did.
Yeah, and although I've rated it slightly higher than EA Play, just because EA Play only had a one game that I was interested in, this one had a few more, but even still, yeah, that was just really sort of disappointing, because I do remember last year, and the last year's conference was really well structured, had 4 or 5 games, but really went into detail. And this year it was just they didn't really know what they were doing.
Okay, so is that a 4 from you?
It is, yeah, 4.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same score. Just nothing to really get excited about, like nothing to makes you think like, oh yeah, I can't wait to, There are a few games in there that I'm looking forward to playing. Dishonored DLC for sure, and Wolfenstein, but that's pretty much it. Otherwise, and the VR stuff is exciting, but everything seems to have kind of cooled on VR recently. There's not been so much chat about it, like at least as there was last year. So yeah, 4 from me. So that puts it in, I think, 3rd place of the 3 conferences that we've done so far. We're putting through little percentages together. Microsoft is at the top of the minute with EA Play, just above the Bethesda one. We've actually got a review show for both Microsoft and EA Play, which you can see at youtube.com/twistedbard, and we're going to be doing review shows for Ubisoft and Sony pretty much as soon as they happen, and probably Nintendo as well. We'll see. We're lazy. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. That was our Bethesda review show at the E3. Hope you enjoyed it. See you again soon from everybody here. Bye.
Goodbye.